"You're not first-class material." The words sliced through Anna like a shard of ice, cold and jagged, as the gate agent's manicured finger stabbed toward the economy line. Her simple sweater hung loose on her frame, its faded threads a stark contrast to the polished leather and glittering jewelry around her. Her scuffed shoes, worn from years of quiet steps, seemed to scream ordinary to the crowd. Their whispers grew louder, a rising tide of judgment pressing against her skin, heavy as a storm cloud. Anna's heart thudded in her chest, a frantic rhythm she could feel in her throat, but she didn't move, not yet. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling like a leaf caught in the wind, yet steady enough to hold its ground. Her brown eyes, soft but unyielding, locked onto the agent's, searching for a flicker of fairness. The agent, Vanessa, smirked, leaning closer, her badge catching the airport's harsh fluorescent light like a blade. "Look at you," she said, her tone dripping with condescension, each word a deliberate cut. "Do I need to spell it out?" Humiliation flickered across Anna's face, a shadow passing over her features, then hardened into something else, something quiet, something fierce, like an ember glowing beneath ash. Her hands tightened around the strap of her worn canvas bag, the fabric rough against her palms. What Vanessa didn't know, what no one in that glittering lounge, with its sleek marble floors and clinking champagne glasses, could have guessed, was who Anna really was, or who was about to pick up her call. Have you ever been judged before you could open your mouth? Sized up by someone who didn't even bother to learn your name? Felt the weight of a room deciding you're less before you've had a chance to prove you're more? Today, you're stepping into Anna's story, a woman who looked like she didn't belong, whose simplicity hid a strength so profound it would shake the foundations of everyone watching. This is a journey of humiliation, resilience, and a redemption so powerful it'll leave you breathless. Stick with me, you won't believe what happens next. Anna Harper wasn't the kind of woman who turned heads. At 38, her life was quiet, deliberate, like a river carving its path through stone, unseen but unstoppable. She wore plain clothes, a soft gray sweater, a pair of jeans faded at the knees, not because she had to, but because they felt like home, like the smell of her grandmother's kitchen or the sound of rain on a tin roof. Her dark hair was swept into a loose bun, strands slipping free to frame her face, untouched by makeup. Her presence was soft, almost ghostly, against the sharp edges of a world that worshipped flash and noise. To the strangers rushing through the airport, their designer luggage clattering behind them, she was invisible, a nobody slipping through the cracks of a society obsessed with status, with labels, with power. But inside, Anna carried a strength forged in years of being underestimated, a fire tempered by countless moments of dismissal. She'd learned to let the world's judgment slide off her, like rain on glass, leaving her untouched. Most days, anyway. Today wasn't most days. She clutched her boarding pass, its edges slightly crumpled from her nervous grip, a rare gift from her husband, Daniel, a first-class ticket to Paris. A surprise for their 10th anniversary, a gesture so extravagant it had made her laugh. Her voice warm but shy in their cozy kitchen. "Me? In first class," she'd said, holding the ticket like it might vanish. "I'll look like I snuck in, Daniel." His eyes had softened, his hand brushing hers, calloused from years of work before his wealth. "You belong anywhere, Anna," he'd said, his voice low, certain. Anywhere. She'd smiled then, her heart swelling, but doubt had lingered, a quiet whisper she couldn't shake. Anna had never needed wealth to feel whole. She'd grown up in a small town, where the fields stretched endless and the stars felt close enough to touch. Her dreams had been simple: love, family, a life built on trust. Daniel had given her that, and more, but she'd never worn his success like a crown. It wasn't her way. Now, standing at the gate of Flight 217, that doubt clawed at her, sharper than ever. The terminal buzzed around her, a symphony of hurried footsteps, rolling suitcases, and distant announcements. The air smelled of coffee and expensive perfume, the kind that clung to your clothes. The gate agent, Vanessa, stood like a sentinel, her smile sharp and artificial, never reaching her eyes. Her badge gleamed. Her posture screamed authority, her nails tapping the counter with a rhythm that felt like a countdown. "Boarding pass," she snapped, barely glancing at Anna, her gaze already drifting to the line of impatient passengers behind her. Anna handed it over, her fingers brushing the paper nervously, her heart whispering a quiet prayer. The boarding pass felt fragile in her hands, like a promise that could break. Vanessa's eyes flicked from the pass to Anna, then back again, her lips curling into something sharp, something cruel. This must be a mistake, she said, her voice loud enough to carry, deliberate enough to sting. Anna blinked, her breath catching, a cold knot forming in her chest. I'm sorry. First class, Vanessa said, her tone dripping with disbelief, each word a spotlight on Anna's plainness. You're not on the list. Anna's stomach twisted, the knot tightening. But, it's my ticket, she said, her voice soft but firm. My husband booked it. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, tossing the boarding pass onto the counter like it was a discarded receipt. Husband, huh? She said, her smirk widening, her voice carrying to the crowd. Sweetheart, this isn't your place, step aside, reel first. Class passengers are waiting. The words burned, each syllable a spark igniting something deep in Anna's chest. Anger, yes, but also pain, raw and familiar. She felt the weight of every stare, every whispered judgment from the crowd behind her. A woman in a fur coat leaned toward her friend, her voice low but cutting, probably thought she could scam her way in. A man in a tailored suit snorted, his watch glinting as he crossed his arms. Economy's that way, lady, a teenage girl nearby giggled. Snapping a photo with her phone, her caption already forming in her mind, Anna's cheeks flushed, a warmth spreading under her skin, but she didn't look away. Her eyes stayed on Vanessa, searching for a crack in her armor. There's a mistake, she said, her voice quieter now, almost pleading, though it held a thread of steel. Can you check again? Call someone. A supervisor. Vanessa laughed, a short, cutting sound that echoed in the terminal, sharp as glass. A supervisor. For you? She said, her eyes raking over Anna's sweater, her shoes, her everything. Honey, you're holding up the line. Move, or I'll call security. The crowd's murmurs swelled, a wave of amusement and disdain. A businessman checked his watch, muttering, some people don't know their place. An older woman shook her head, her pearls clinking softly. What's this world coming to? Inside, Anna was crumbling, her heart a fragile thing under the weight of their stares, their assumptions. You don't belong, you're nothing. She'd heard those voices before, years ago, when she was just a girl in hand-me-down dresses, standing at the edge of a schoolyard while the other kids laughed. She'd heard them when she'd moved to the city, her small-town accent marking her as different, less. She'd fought those voices then, clawed her way to a place where she could stand tall, where she could love and be loved without apology. She'd fight them now, but God, it hurt. Her hand tightened around her bag, her knuckles whitening, the canvas biting into her palm. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips, a reminder she was still here, still real. Fine, she said at last, her voice barely above a whisper, yet heavy with resolve. I'll call my husband. Vanessa rolled her eyes, her smirk widening, a predator sensing weakness. Sure, she said, her voice mocking, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Call your husband, tell him to book you a real ticket next time. The crowd laughed louder now, a chorus of cruelty that followed Anna as she stepped away, her steps slow, deliberate, as if the floor might crack beneath her. A man in a cashmere scarf chuckled, whispering to his companion, bet she's calling some nobody. The teenage girl's phone flashed again, capturing Anna's retreat. Her heart pounded, a drumbeat in her chest, as she moved toward a quiet corner of the terminal. The crowd's laughter fading like a bad dream. The air felt cooler here, away from the gate's harsh lights, the walls lined with posters of faraway places, Paris, Rome, Tokyo, promising escape. Her fingers fumbled for her phone, trembling slightly, Daniel's name glowing on the screen like a lifeline. She didn't want to do this. Anna had never wanted to lean on Daniel's name, his power. She'd fallen in love with him before she knew who he was, before the world knew him as Daniel Harper, billionaire, CEO, a man whose signature could move mountains. She'd met him in a diner, of all places, when he was just a man in a worn jacket, his smile shy, his coffee black. He'd asked her name, listened to her story, seen her, not her clothes, not her past, but her. She'd been enough then, with nothing but her heart to offer. She'd always been enough, but they'd left her no choice. She pressed the call button, her breath shallow, the phone cold against her ear. Daniel picked up on the first ring, his voice warm, concerned, a tether pulling her back from the edge. Anna, you okay? Her voice cracked, the weight of the moment spilling out, raw and unfiltered. They won't let me board, Daniel, she said, her words trembling like leaves in a storm. They're saying I don't belong in first class. there, laughing at me. She closed her eyes, picturing him, his steady gaze, the way his jaw tightened when someone hurt the people he loved. On the other end, Daniel's tone shifted, calm but dangerous, like the quiet before thunder. Who's they? He asked, each word precise. A blade. Held steady, Anna hesitated, her thumb brushing the edge of her phone, the metal cool against her skin. She hated this part, hated how his name changed rooms, changed lives, turned whispers into silence, but she told him, her voice soft but clear, the airline, the gate agent, Vanessa, the crowd, with their smirks and their stares. Stay there, Daniel said, his voice like steel wrapped in velvet, unyielding but warm. I'm handling this. The line went quiet, but Anna could feel his resolve, even from thousands of miles away. She slipped her phone back into her pocket, her heart still racing, a wild thing caged in her chest. She could have walked away, she could have taken the economy seat they'd offered, swallowed the humiliation, and disappeared into the crowd, letting their laughter be the last word. But something in her, something forged in years of being overlooked, of proving herself in shadows, said no, not today. She straightened, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand, the gesture small but defiant. Her reflection flickered in a nearby window, faint against the terminal's chaos, a woman who looked ordinary, but whose heart burned with purpose. Her steps were slow but deliberate as she walked back to the gate, her head high, her shoulders squared. The crowd parted slightly, confused, their whispers trailing her like smoke. Vanessa barely glanced up, her fingers tapping impatiently on the counter, her nails a sharp red against the white surface. Back again, she said, her voice thick with irritation, her eyes narrowing. I told you, economy's boarding soon, don't make a scene. Anna's voice was steady now, almost too calm, a river finding its course. I'm not going to economy, she said, each word deliberate, heavy with quiet power. I'm waiting. Vanessa scoffed, her eyes raking over Anna again, lingering on her sweater, her shoes. Waiting for what? She snapped, her smirk returning, though it wavered slightly. A miracle? Anna didn't answer, she didn't need to. The air in the terminal shifted, a ripple of tension spreading through the crowd, like the moment before a storm breaks. A phone rang at the counter, shrill and insistent, cutting through the murmurs. Vanessa's hand hesitated, then picked it up, her smirk fading as she listened. Her face paled, her eyes darting to Anna, then away, as if she couldn't bear to meet her gaze. Yes, sir, she said, her voice trembling, barely audible. I understand, but, yes, of course. She hung up, her hands shaking, her polished facade cracking like thin ice. The crowd fell silent, their amusement replaced by confusion, by unease. Anna stood still, her expression unreadable, but her eyes burned with quiet fire, a strength that seemed to fill the space around her. Mrs. Harper, Vanessa said, her voice cracking, so soft it was almost a whisper, there's been a misunderstanding. Your ticket is valid, first class is ready for you. The crowd stirred, a ripple of shock passing through them. A man in a navy blazer muttered, Mrs. Harper. Who's that? A woman with diamond earrings clutched her purse, whispering to her husband, what's going on? The teenage girl lowered her phone, her bravado fading. Anna didn't move, her feet rooted to the floor, her bag still heavy in her hand. A misunderstanding, she echoed, her voice soft but cutting, each word a stone dropped into still water. Or did you decide I wasn't first-class material? Vanessa flinched, her authority crumbling like ash, her hands gripping the counter as if it could anchor her. I didn't know, she stammered, her voice breaking, her eyes darting to the crowd, then back to Anna. Know what? Anna asked, stepping closer, her presence filling the space, quiet but unshakable. Her voice was steady, but there was a weight to it, a history of slights and triumphs woven into every syllable. The truth hit like a wave, unspoken but deafening, crashing over the terminal. Daniel Harper wasn't just Anna's husband, he was one of the richest men alive, a billionaire whose name opened doors and ended careers, whose influence stretched across continents. CEO of Harper Global, a man whose portfolio included half the airlines in the country, including this one. And Anna? She was the woman he'd chosen, not for her status, not for her wealth, but for her heart, a heart the world had underestimated, time and time again. Years ago, before the wealth, before the headlines, Anna had been a teacher, her classroom a haven for kids who felt unseen. She'd stayed late, grading papers by lamplight, her hands stained with chalk, her heart full. Daniel had wandered into her life by chance. A man running from a world that demanded too much. He'd sat in that diner, watching her laugh with the waitress, her kindness a quiet rebellion against a world that valued power over people. He'd fallen for her then, for the way she saw the world, for the way she saw him. Now, standing in the terminal, Anna carried that same heart, unchanged by wealth, unbowed by judgment. Vanessa stammered, her voice a fragile thing breaking apart. "Mrs. Harper, please," she said, her eyes glistening, her composure gone. "I'm sorry. I didn't." "You didn't ask," Anna said, her voice quiet but heavy, carrying the weight of years, of small-town whispers, of city sneers, of moments when she'd been told she wasn't enough. "You saw me and decided who I was." "So did they." Her eyes swept the crowd, piercing, unflinching, a lighthouse cutting through fog. Shame flickered across faces, heads bowed, eyes averted, hands fidgeting with bags and phones. The woman in the fur coat looked away, her fingers twisting her necklace. The man in the suit shifted uncomfortably, his smirk replaced by a grimace, his watch suddenly too tight on his wrist. The teenage girl slipped her phone into her pocket, her bravado gone, her face flushed with something like regret. A supervisor rushed in, his face slick with sweat, his tie askew, his voice tripping over itself in a rush to fix what was already broken. "Mrs. Harper," he said, bowing slightly, his hands clasped as if in prayer, "your seat is ready, and, on behalf of the airline, we're deeply sorry. This won't happen again, I assure you." Anna nodded, but her eyes stayed on Vanessa, steady and unrelenting, a quiet storm in human form. "I don't want your apology," she said, her voice soft but resolute, each word a seed planted in the silence. "I want you to remember this, the next time you see someone who doesn't look like they belong, someone in a worn sweater, someone with no name you recognize, ask their name, see them." The words hung in the air, simple but profound, a challenge and a plea. Vanessa's shoulders slumped, her hands falling to her sides, her badge suddenly heavy. The crowd was silent now, their whispers gone, their judgments exposed. Anna picked up her bag, her movements graceful, unhurried, as if time itself had slowed to honor her. The crowd parted like a sea, their eyes following her, a mix of awe and shame. Whispers trailed her, softer now, almost reverent. "That's Anna Harper. She's married to Daniel Harper." But she didn't look back, she didn't need their approval now, she never had. As Anna boarded, the terminal felt smaller, quieter, as if the world had paused to catch its breath. The gate closed behind her, a soft click that echoed like a gavel. She walked down the jetway, her step steady, the hum of the plane a distant promise of escape. In Paris, Daniel waited, his smile breaking like sunlight when he saw her name light up his phone. She was safe, she was coming home. Later that day, news spread like wildfire, leaping from gate to gate, from break room to boardroom. Vanessa was let go, her career over in a single call, her name a cautionary tale whispered among staff. "Did you hear?" a baggage handler said, shaking his head. She didn't know who she was messing with. A flight attendant nodded, her voice low. Nobody did. The airline issued a public apology, their statement polished but hurried, vowing to retrain their staff, to rewrite their policies, to ensure no one else would face what Anna had. Social media's buzzed, the story trending under hashtags like #JusticeForAnna and #KnowTheirName. Strangers shared their own stories, moments of judgment, moments of triumph, building a chorus of voices that echoed Anna's stand. But for Anna, it wasn't about revenge, it wasn't about power, or headlines, or the satisfaction of seeing Vanessa's badge stripped away. It was about standing tall in a world that had tried to make her small, about proving, to herself, to the voices that lingered from her past, that she was enough. She'd always been enough. The plane climbed into the sky, golden sunlight bathing her face through the window, warm as a promise kept. She closed her eyes, her heart steady, her breath even, the hum of the engines a lullaby. Below, the world grew smaller, its judgments fading into the clouds. She thought of Daniel, of the life they'd built, not on wealth, but on love, on trust, on the quiet moments that no one else saw. She thought of the girl she'd been, the one who dreamed under endless stars, who believed she could be more. That girl was still here, unbroken, shining. You've just walked through Anna's story, a woman who looked ordinary but carried extraordinary strength, whose heart held a power no one could measure. Maybe you felt what she felt, standing in a room where no one saw you, where their eyes passed over you like you were nothing. Maybe you've carried your own quiet fire, waiting for the moment to show the world who you are. Here's the truth: you are enough, exactly as you are, and sometimes, the world just needs a reminder, a spark, a stand, a name spoken with courage. What did you think of Anna's journey? Have you ever seen someone rise above judgment like she did, turning shame into strength? Have you felt that fire in yourself, that moment when you refused to be small? Drop a comment below, share this video, and let's build a community that lifts each other up, that sees the unseen, that honors the names we carry. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in redemption, in justice, in stories that make us feel deeply, achingly human. I'll see you in the next one.